I
So,
don't think I ever could sound like Captain Flowers, but
no, I mean just in like the way that he talks and like what he's saying, like
oh,
kind
like
of
the Hulk Hogan, sure thing, brother.
yeah, like that exact manner of speaking. So, for those that clearly are probably watching this and seeing what in the world is visually different, uh, Paul is not able to make it today, which means that I am just going to be uh, the only consistent co-host. But I brought in Nick, who's a pretty good friend of the stream that most of you all have probably seen. If you are watching this on YouTube, he's a pretty consistent guest on the podcast. And I'm just going to chill in the chair because this is going to be a call-in show. Uh, Nick and I are going to talk for a little bit, but then afterwards, anybody that wants to put a take in or that wants to come chat, just hop in the lounge chat, and we'll get to takes probably around like 7:20, and you can come on and talk about whatever you want. And because I know Nick doesn't do camera, and I'm not gonna have anybody else uh, like be on camera for the call-in section of this, I figured I'd switch up the setup a little bit, and just have it be a little bit more casual, a little bit more chat. So what have you been up to, Nick? How's it going?
Well, just had a nice Memorial Day weekend. Was it
Well,
Memorial Day or Labor Day? Memorial Day.
Memorial Day. What'd you do?
Memorial Day. I went to a house in PA with my friends that we rented just to kind of hang out, blow off steam,
Wait,
drink
where at in PA?
East Stroudsburg.
Ooh, okay. I actually know where that's
Really,
at, obviously.
yeah, it was pretty cool.
Nice.
But and of course, in the middle of that one, I only have my phone and I'm not at my PC. Is when all that LCS stuff kicks off. So I was sitting there like,
I mean, you picked a good time to miss stuff. I will say to quickly comment on the most current piece of drama, which was like the FlyQuest stuff that Flight Check broke, uh, that they then had to retract. I'm I'm a little bit peeved about that, if I'm being honest.
I don't even know if it's retracted because it's like some random Twitter account, but they deleted it. So
It's
you never know what's going on, or
flight.
unless you know something else.
The thing is that I know Flight. I know the guys that do the podcast there, the Flight Check crew. When they say that they check with like multiple people, like I generally will believe them just because I've had good interactions with them in the past. And then Arsh, who most people know on Twitter now as part of the Nayman crew, came out and was like, I heard this as well, and it's like, okay, so you got two people confirming it. I'll put my opinion out on Coco away from the wires. I'll put my opinion out on the topic, and then they immediately have to retract it after the tweet starts gaining some traction, and it's
Yeah,
like I'm just annoyed, and it's like
I'm of two minds on that because I'm like, at one time I'm like, okay, if someone makes an accusation, naturally, there's no, um, I don't know, people don't just make shit up. Well, I mean, occasionally people do, but
yeah,
but on the other side, everyone's been like, oh, Papa Smithy's the best owner ever, blah blah blah. He's so nice. He does great things all the time. And then for people to be like, ah, yes, I am now going to, because one random Twitter account, random relatively speaking to the size of some other people in this scene, yes, I'm going to disregard all of the, hard work that Papa Smithy's done and all the good guy he's been for so long, and just believe this random fucking accusation. It's kind of like every time something comes out against C9, the community's like, ah, Jack's the worst owner, and then three
yep,
days later, the real truth comes out, and it turns out Jack's looking golden or whatever. So
yep, and that's
it's
like
like to me, it's just like it's a case of people feel like when something comes out, they need to have an opinion, and I just think that sometimes it's okay to not have an opinion and wait a little bit and then form an opinion. So
I agree, but when you're bored at work and got nothing else to do, chucking an opinion out there seems kind of fun. Uh, I will say I just need to be a little bit more careful with who/what I retweet. I need this TV to be on because otherwise the light is not great. But it's like, I don't know. Arsh is one of those people that I always assume, like, if he's gonna put it out, like, he's gonna at least be not reputable with it, but he's at least gonna have like vetted sources that you're not gonna say anything publicly unless you're like confident in it. And he just put in the replies like, oh, I guess this just might not be true. And it's like, dude, if you're positioning yourself as a journalist to a certain extent, and like, doing these investigative pieces on EG and shit like this. You can't be doing that.
I think the other thing too is not having an opinion yet, or even stating that you don't have an opinion yet, is not believing the person making the accusation. It's like it's just not like there's no you don't have to take sides right away. Like so many of these things are so not black and white. They're so like complex and interweaved and interlocked in whatever adjective that it's just I wish I could just tell everyone it's okay to not have an opinion about things right away all the time. And I don't mean you specifically, I just mean like
No,
in
I know, but
general.
I'm
It
part of
is
that crowd though.
okay to not have an opinion. Or even if you're like someone who reports on news, it's okay to not give your own personal opinion and simply report the news. I mean, shit, that's what we used to do, but
Yeah, I get you. Just because we got some other people in the chat now, I do want to make sure I throw out the caveat again that if you want to come in and uh, and give a take for the show, be sure to join the Discord and hop in the lounge chat. We'll pull people in about 15 minutes and just start talking about stuff. But Nick was kind enough to volunteer to come on the show and message me that he had something that he wanted to talk about in relation to all the news because a whole bunch of shit has happened.
who me?
And you said
I don't.
you said, and I
Yeah,
quote,
kidding.
okay, but
Yeah, no. So what it really boils down to is, from everything that I've seen altogether, this is a problem made by all three groups of people.
yeah,
And what I have seen, extensive, reading everything everywhere possible, and this is just my surface level like analysis, is that if you start with the players, or actually I start with who shoulders the most of the blame, I think. They all shoulder a lot of blame, but
yeah,
the orgs shoulder the most blame, in my opinion,
agreed.
um, for kind of getting into these situations without a real, like, I don't know, plan and like ability to kind of. You don't go into business unless you have a plan, and it really doesn't seem like they ever had a true plan. You know what I mean? Um, and for basically, I don't know how to put this.
I can tell you're dancing on words a little bit, trying not
There's,
to piss anybody
well,
off.
no, I just like to use the right words.
Yeah,
The orgs are at fault for kind of, I guess, yeah, not having a good plan, spending all of the VC money without having a sort of, I don't know, like concrete way to profitability on
yeah,
their own without Riot. Like pretend Riot doesn't exist for
yep,
these orgs. Like pretend just the LCS exists and it's not some massive company behind them that gave you some money, right? And then Riot's fault is basically not kind of stepping in and saying, the LCS isn't pulling the numbers that we'd like. We need to make a plan with you guys, right? Like
yep.
that's kind of Riot's fault. There's not really a lot of legal fault for Riot because, they're the kings in this situation. But like from a point of view that that you like to go after, which is like, just the health of the good LCS. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? There's a definite missed ball dropped by Riot, to kind of, I don't know, steward the whole situation correctly. Like, and then the players are kind of at fault the least. But I do think they're at fault because none of them ever cared about the NACL. Um,
Yep.
they only ever cared about their own maximum paychecks.
Yep.
And they did absolutely nothing towards unionizing, as far as I'm aware,
No,
until it was too late.
and I want to harp on that because I don't think enough people are talking about this. My introduction into League, as I've kind of told the story a few times, is like 2016, 2017 era. And one of the first long form pieces of content that I watched was the interview with like Reggie, uh, Noah Winston, Travis Gafford, and the two guys from Riot as they were setting up franchising. And one of the things that immediately stuck out in my mind during that interview was, oh, we are basically donating money to form an LCS Players Association. Notably, we can't run it, obviously, because we're the governing body for the league as well. So players have to do this, but we're trying to help them get it off the ground. This was in 2017. players didn't do anything until now to like really push the envelope on that matter, especially when they were getting massive paychecks each and every split. It was
Okay,
insane.
yeah, and regarding that, like comparatively to their paychecks, a lawyer is cheap for a consult. Like not for hiring a lawyer for a union, right? To make a union or to actually formally speak to the NLRB or something like that, right? But like actually getting a lawyer to consult for like the NLR or for the LCSPA, that's pretty cheap, especially if people put their money together.
Yeah.
Like it's not expensive for 50 players or whatever you want to call it to donate like I don't know, off the cuff, like less than $100 each to consult with a lawyer about how that would go, right? But nobody ever did it. So
No.
like I
And
have
Travis put out in his video, he's like, "Oh, well, things were going good." And it's like, I'm sorry, but like everybody around the scene was telling people from the beginning that you need to unionize. When franchising begins, you are consolidating power further to the teams and Riot, and you're not giving yourself anything at all for whenever the bubble crashes. And what do you know? We're now in that exact situation. So, no, like, had these players not had any resources available to them, I get they're 18-year-old kids, but they had everything around them and people telling them to do it, and they just didn't do it. So you could have alleviated a lot of problems up to this point. Now, that's, again, as you said, that's a smaller problem in the bigger bucket of things, which
it's
was
somewhat on the orgs too to kind of manage them into it, but the orgs
I,
wouldn't do that for their own kind of health, I guess.
and the orcs
Like
also
or for their
can't.
own yeah. Well, what I mean is like you can't like make a meeting with a lawyer with your players,
Yeah.
but you can be like, hey, this is in your best interests.
Yeah.
To like a casual conversation. Now, it's not in the org's best interest, much like it's not in Riot's best interest, but for the health of the game, it's definitely something that should have been, I don't know, addressed
The
quicker.
sad thing is, I think it actually was in the best interest of the teams. Like, sure, you wouldn't have been able to spend, Impact getting $1 million deal, Sword Art getting, what, 3 million a year average, but had teams, I don't want to pin the blame on teams for not pushing the players to unionize, but had they actually done that, there would have been a salary cap in place, which would have prevented some of the problems that we're seeing right now from happening. And it would have been better for everybody all around. But
It's,
unfortunately,
it's kind of like one of those things where, like I said, everyone's a little bit at fault.
oh, it is, yeah, and that's the
And
thing
not
that
to
gets
mention,
lost here.
I don't know about you, but like back in, what was it, 2018, 2019? It was when all the big hubbub leaked that Impact was getting like $1 million contract.
Yeah, that was like 2019 when he signed with
TL.
or maybe it was 28. Yeah, it was 2018 because then they replaced Pobelter with Jensen.
Yeah.
But that was the only.
And right then I was like, wait a second, this is not like as a viewer, you don't really have to like you don't really have any skin in the game, so it's not really on the players to like make noise and tell the players to unionize,
Yeah.
or anything silly like that. But like, I don't know, I just thought that was a bit silly. I was like, what do they do? Like where's the money gonna come from? And it
Yeah.
never came.
No, it never did. And that's where then I start looking at the teams and saying, okay, you all just started dishing out money because you thought getting better players was going to lead to us doing better internationally, which is better for your individual brand. And I'm not going to go into again how flawed that thinking is, because you're never going to be able to compete with Korea and China long term doing that unless you have unlimited funds, which you don't. And even then, it's like it's like Ronaldo going to the
Well,
Saudis.
FlyQuest and TL seem to have unlimited funds because they're still trying to buy Faker for bajillions
Okay,
of
yeah.
dollars.
You know what? Now you say that, let me fucking talk about that real quick, because that pissed me off whenever the news came out. The fact that happened while Steve also released the video talking about how they now need to be more fiscally responsible, which if you think about the timeline, probably happened right after they got rejected for Faker. It's just so annoying. And people got pissed at me on TikTok for this, but I don't see how you can ever in any way, shape, or form recoup $3 to $5 million for 1 year of salary. Because for those that don't know, it was leaked, I think, back at the beginning of last year, that Faker was getting like $7 million of salary from T1 annually in total. So that is $5 million in 1 year, give or take. And no amount of merch drops, no amount of content that you can monetize, no amount of sponsorships that come in is going to equal $5 million for just that one player. There's no way. That's not sustainable at all.
Yeah, I don't think there's a world where the price of Faker is worth the price of, or the price of Faker translates to profit.
Yeah.
Like it'll certainly look good on the revenue sheet until you go look at how much you spent on him.
And what happens if he misses playoffs? Like, granted, if Faker comes to Team Liquid, their roster doesn't look anything like it does now because they get a bunch of players that obviously want to come play with Faker and are willing to take a pay cut to do so. So TL probably has an actual super team if they pull that off. But it's like, I just
Who would you
don't.
even put on a team with Faker?
I don't know. At that point, whoever Faker wants to play with. Like, I
Really?
don't know, because you're limited. You have to have at least. I mean, I'm assuming you get impact from EG. Like, he's the only one that really stands a chance. Like, I'm trying to
Yeah,
think.
and then you get Blabber, Berserker, and Vulcan.
Uh, Probably. Yeah. Well, no, probably Okay, yeah. So you get Vulcan, probably. I mean, you could try and get Core JJ since he has his green card now, but I'm just trying. Like, I don't think in that roster, barring Blabber, I don't think there's a single player from North America that you put around him.
Yeah,
And it's like at that point, it's like I
I
don't
guess that's a
think.
testament to how good Blabber is, right?
Yeah, but it's like at the same time, it's like we've already been through this with Team Liquid. Like they had three. Oh, my camera really froze. God damn it. We had 3 years where TL was arguably like on top of the world, or two solid years. And what do they have to show for it?
What years were those?
2018, 2019. Yes, they have the trophies to show for it, but in terms of like long-term success, are they in a better spot than Cloud9 because of
How
that?
far out of Worlds did TL get in 2018?
They didn't make it out of groups in 2018
Ah,
or
and
2019.
who made it to semis? I'd like
You
to hear
guys
that.
did. You
Ah,
guys
that's what
did.
I thought.
I'll give you credit for that.
2018 and 2019 were the hope years.
They were. I mean, 2019 MSI finals, but at the same time, that's like one
Oh,
upset
for sure.
series
Yeah.
win.
No, I wasn't shitting on that. I was just chuckling at the.
No,
They were
I
dominant
know.
in 2018, and then
Like, I don't know. I don't. It still feels like there's a lot of reckless spending in esports, or at least within the LCS, despite teams claiming that things are getting better. Like FlyQuest is one that I look at as well, where it's like, is what they're doing right now sustainable? Is FlyQuest actually building enough fandom uh, at a quick enough pace that are diehard to the FlyQuest brand that after Papa Smithy moves on, or Avali potentially moves on, or LS moves on, like, have you picked up anybody that's going to be with your brand for life that like 100% is committed to your brand? And on top of that, like, are the fans loyal? Like, I haven't got that like TSM or Cloud9 sense of loyalty yet from anybody around those teams. Like, I still think most of the fans of FlyQuest right now are fans of like players and not the team as a whole. I could be wrong
is it
on that.
is it sad that I couldn't tell you who's on FlyQuest other than Prince?
Well, I mean, now you can with Prince and Vulcan, because Vulcan went there.
Oh yeah,
But
true.
then Vikla, Spica, and Impact.
So now, which team do you think coming out of all of this mess is going to look not the best in terms of league performance, but in terms of like PR?
PR and
I
brand
of
optics.
course, I of course would say Cloud9 because I'm hella biased, and you might say 100 Thieves because you're even more biased.
Well, the
But
only reports that we've seen out of all of this were, I think I saw like one tweet that 100 Thieves was like fully supporting the players and like not gonna field scabs, or if they were gonna do scabs, it was just gonna be like internal people like taking the bullet or something like that. Which any team that was willing to do that has my respect. They do. Because like then if the rules set in place by Riot was that you had to field scabs, but you don't go out of your way to like talk to amateur players, and like you just put your staff in there. Like you refused from the beginning, and then Riot says, okay, you're gonna lose your franchise spot, and we're like, okay, well, we're gonna put our staff in. And like John Robinson steps up and plays scab. Like then it's like, okay, we're here so we don't get fined, like Marshawn Lynch type thing. But then that's good press, in my opinion, on the teams. Like any team that's willing to do that has my respect. So whoever walks out of this on good terms, as of right now, technically nobody. Because like I know a lot of people want to look at like FlyQuest, EG, and TL as like good guys because they kept their academy teams for a few splits. And while the problem is we don't know what severance packages people got. Like if somebody got a severance package on 100, Scary Harry, thank you for the follow. If 100 Thieves gave out severance packages, or TSM did as well to their players after they got dropped that will carry them out through the split, then all is technically well, but we have no clue. Holy shit, thank you for the sub, Happy Camper. But we won't know any of that. Like, none of that information is public.
Yeah, I'm a little bit like... I trust Jack to make like the right moves because he has consistently over the years, and I trust Papa Smithy to make the right moves because he has pretty consistently. I mean, obviously I'm going to be more biased in favor of Jack, but like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Other teams, it's really hard to say, and it's just like, can we get a resolution, please?
I agree.
Well, in today's instant gratification, everyone's like chomping at the bit, and I'm just like, I could wait a couple weeks. I don't really care as long as the actual LCS happens.
Oh, I think it will. 100%.
No, but I'm saying I'm not butt blasted like other people
Oh,
are.
no, no, I know. Some
like, that
people...
it's delayed or whatever. If it
Yeah,
gets canceled, I might be a little, booty blasted. But
oh, if it gets canceled,
a delay, I'm just like, okay, cool. This is one of two options, and it's the better of the two options.
I mean, I'm gonna save my thoughts on like the power dynamics of everything until we get some caller takes, because I know that some people are gonna want to talk about that, and we'll bring it up. Is there
only there were any good callers in the Discord.
If only. So to the 12 people in currently watching the channel, or 14 now. Holy shit. Just so you know, we are about to start the call-in portion of this. Khan and others are spamming the Discord link below. If you want to call into the show, just hop in the lounge chat. I'm going to start pulling people one by one. I don't need to know your take. I trust you all. Don't prove me wrong. But we'll go from there. Nick, any final things you want to talk about with just the two of us before we open it up?
I saw you on your phone. Were you sending your wife the meme of, babe, this is doing numbers?
No. I've got chat. The chat is too far away on my screen for me to see it, so I don't know if stream will be able to show it, but I have Twitch monitor up on my phone, so I can like watch chat and monitor activity, and make sure all is good. So,
doing numbers.
Doing numbers. Absolutely. I wish I was back in time to co-stream the Disguised Toast stuff. But,
let's get some people.
All right, let's do this. I think the first one I saw here was Mr. Let's Go C9, of course. What up, what up, what up? How we doing?
Oh, was good.
How you been?
Vibing. Playing real jungle. It's broken.
Still playing
games.
Kha'Zix?
Dude, he's dead. You can't convince me. I don't care what they give him. As long as he has isolation passive, the champion's not real.
I mean, I just saw, who was the Disguised Toast jungler that just played him?
Was it Shifter? No. Who is the Disguised Toast jungler? I didn't even watch. It was busy.
Shifter was
Tomio, or was that mid?
Nah, you're right. Tomio. It was Tomio played it.
Oh, I love Tomio, dude.
And he absolutely smashed. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of upset by that first game of the series. Like, if you're Disguised Toast team, you know that you're gonna shit stomp them really bad. Why are you drafting semi-series? Like, meme them. Like, pick Teemo. Pick all the, like, you're gonna win. If you lose game 1, then sure, turn on the Jets. But like, come on, it's a best of 3 series. There's no risk of you losing. Just have fun with it.
Temo's strong right now as well.
Exactly.
That's the crazy thing.
All right, so what do you want to talk about? What's your take?
We saw it a little bit earlier in chat, but if you hate teams solely because they have imports, you're just blind and you like to be bullheaded. After about a month or 2 in our systems, imports aren't real. And if they were, TL would have won the split.
Wait, huh?
I think there's standout imports. I think imports generally are, you know, I don't know, good players. But yeah, I think there are definitely standouts though. Like you can't, I wouldn't say that like, I'll just pull one out of my ass. Oh god, Yeon or whatever, the mid for, no, he was a academy.
He's a resident.
Give me an average. Give me an average import.
I mean,
someone's name.
Vikla last year.
Diplex.
Okay, so Vikla is just not comparable to Berserker, but they're from like the same region, right?
Yeah.
It's like so I think there's tiers of imports too. I don't think being an import really gives you may start off at like a different level than, you know, NA guys. Like, okay, so who did we pick? Vikla?
Yep.
Okay, so let's say Vikla is a 5 out of 10 in Korea, right? Just on an easy scale, simple to figure out. That may be a 7 out of 10 in NA, right? But like now Berserker is like a 7 or 8 out of 10 in Korea. That means it's a 10 out of 10 here. So I think it's really important to kind of like look at the actual like skill level of the player rather than being like a golden rule of like all imports good or all imports bad, you know? I don't know if that really addresses what you said, or I feel like it does a little bit.
I just see people who choose to hate teams like FlyQuest and TL simply because they go out and get import. And TL's a different thing because they went and got Piosik because he's Piosik and he just won Worlds. But I'm talking teams like Quid. Like, people hated 100 Thieves because they took Quid. People hated C9 when they had their Korean super roster and when they took Berserker. And honestly, after one split, I don't see imports as imports anymore. You're in the NA system. You're in our solo queue. You're an NA player.
I will disagree with the one split thing. I heavily disagree with one split. I will say 1 year. You need to be in the LCS for over a year for me to consider you like a North American player and invested in the ecosystem at this point. Like Berserker is a good example of like he's now in his 2nd year, then I think it's fine. But beyond that, I can't say that I disagree because like Quid is a great example. I'll hype up Quid because he's playing for my team and I'm excited for him to be here. But that's also a byproduct of me being happy that we're playing the game the way the system currently has us set to play it, which is you need to max out on your imports when available. And as long as they stay on the team long term, then I'm happy with it. But in my ideal world, and I said this on the YouTube video that I did yesterday, I would like to see the import rule for the LCS drop down to 1 and get rid of all grandfathering rules. I would
retroactively or no?
Retroactively.
When you say grandfathering rules, you mean like players like Impact and Zvin?
Okay, fine. I will give players that have been in the LCS for 2 years as of the end of this year grandfather status, sure. Because you're right, I don't want to be a dick to those that have been here for a long time. But starting from now on, no. Done. One import allowed per team and no grandfathering rules unless you get full-blown US residency. Not even just a green card.
A little addendum to that I would like to see if they did do that. Only 1 import from EU and 1 from either China or Korea.
No. Blanket rule, 1 import per team. You want to see North American talent come up and us actually use them, you need to make sure that more North American players are playing. And it sounds like Riot's not going to have a problem with us restricting our own import rule and like making it harder on ourselves than everybody else. Not that anybody else really uses the rule in the same way that we do, but I think that's the only way that you start seeing more North American talent. Now, that's not saying that just because we have NA talent and teams are majority NA that all of a sudden things get better. It doesn't. Like, obviously, we're going to see a little bit of suffering in terms of international performance. Not that there's much lower of a bar to go. But on
Hey,
top
now.
of that, it's just because you have NA players doesn't mean that they're going to stream and be interactive with the community and everything else that we need. Like, if there's one thing that Disguised Host has already shown us in the 2 weeks that he's been involved with League of Legends, is that you have to be active. You need to make sure that you are getting your brand, your players, and everybody else constantly exposed and out there and engaging with the community, because they can grow it, quite frankly, better than the teams can at this point.
So I didn't see it. How many viewers did
Over 100K.
the show match? Yeah.
That's nice. Another NA player, Buff. Wasn't that 2018 C9 like 4 out of 6 or 7 players NA talent?
It was what? It was Jensen, Sven Skaren.
Licorice, Blabber, Sven, Golden
Well,
Blue, and
2018 Blabber was substituting in, but he wasn't the starter. Whenever they made their,
they had the 7-man roster though, where they had the Swole brothers and then they had Jensen. Blabber.
Yeah, but when it actually came to Worlds and making that run, it was Licorice, Sven Skaren, Jensen, Sneaky, and Zazel. So 3 out of 4 or 3 out of 5 act like true North American.
And I'd argue Sven had been in the league for like what 4 years at that point. And he never was really a thing in EU.
Sven was on TSM in 2018.
Sven
No,
Skaren.
you mean
Sven Skaren. Oh yeah. You're right. Sorry.
Sven Skaren was a thing in the EU. He just wasn't super good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but but like NA talent can be good if we care about our league. We just don't anymore. Like maybe 2 teams care about NA.
What does that mean? Define that.
I'm going against myself, but it is the import logic where TL
When you say specifically, we don't care. What does that mean? I don't understand what you mean.
I would say more than half of the owners don't actually care about being good in the league. You cannot convince me that Dignitas or Immortals at this point care about being good in the league or promoting the league in a positive standpoint, because they're not doing either.
I will agree with that. I will just say there's a difference between wording it in the way that you did originally, where it's like these teams don't want to win. I don't give a fuck if there's a team that's 10th place every single split, but is still the most viewed team because the way they handle their business is better. And I'm fine with that. If like Golden Guardians, for example, 2018 to 2020, like they were last place almost every split. Now, luckily they've turned it around since, but had they done something unique and like just had, have streamers, have an entertaining team. And if anybody tries to criticize you and say, oh, we're not in the best interest of the league, be like, bitch, I'm driving your viewership. Fuck you. Like, I don't like that's is it the most competitive league? No, probably not. But like entertainment is always going to trump true altruistic competition. Always.
I totally agree. But even then, I can't remember the last time I saw Dignitas actual media other than this show match, which isn't even really Dignitas, it's just old Dignitas players.
I will give them credit. They now pay Sylvix to do it.
So
I know that Dignitas has content, just not many people are watching it in the same volume that you would expect elsewhere. But it's like it's tough. People are pretty much done with Dig in my mind. Like I don't know what they can do to really turn it around. So they're just kind of are what they are at this point.
I also can't remember the last time I see them or Immortals at the LCS. I know that's mainly me because I'm the only one here that kind of goes to the LCS.
I was gonna say
That's
you're
still
you're
fan
one of
interaction.
you're one of 50 people that actually shows up consistently that doesn't work for Riot or for a
That's
team.
still fan interaction. That's still
It is, and I'm not discounting that because by all means, that's like me saying that the 12 people that consistently show up to the New York City watch parties, like discounting them. Like, no, you're a dedicated part of the viewership base, but it's also when we're talking about a total of what 62 people out of the 100,000 average watching, it's like okay, some even though we're the cash whales of the LCS, the people that are willing to spend more money than anybody else, ultimately like the as you and I have found out, it's like we're not gonna get road shows more often or shit like that. Like it's all focused online, so that's where it's gotta go. But I gotta get to the other. I know. Yeah. I gotta get to the other takes though. So anything else you wanna say before we wrap this one up?
Yeah. Did you know if you have Amazon Prime, you can subscribe for free with your Amazon Prime membership?
That you can.
David Shynock?
Yeah. You can give it to this guy right here.
You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel for free. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subs before the end of summer, if possible.
And then you can tier 3 to him and be called Others. It's cool. It's awesome.
Wait, what do you mean Others?
when I was spamming the Discord link, you said Con and Others, and it felt like that meme of the guy who donates to the streamer and got called friend or random viewer.
There was no, that dude streamer culture with that. Not trying to distract from the point because that was a dick move on me, but
no, it's hilarious.
Oh man, there's a moderator story of somebody being just fucking weird. The Twitch community.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yep, I know you. I know. All right, we gotta move on to the next caller. Thank you so much for coming in, man.
Anytime, dude.
Best of luck in the games.
Yep. Later.
The next one up. Travis Gafford's least favorite person in tandem with myself. Anytime we're together, we always get lumped together for whatever reason. It's Khan, aka CLG Wraith on Reddit, which people have found out about.
Yeah, apparently I can get upvoted for just about anything besides a David YouTube video.
Dude, people don't like my shit. What can I say? I don't know.
I wonder why.
The world may never know.
And Nick here might just be downloading you 10 times on 10 different accounts to make sure it never gets to one. I gotta go quick.
Whoa, 10, 30.
That's dedication right there. I appreciate it. So, Con, what's your take, buddy? What you got for me? Uh-oh. Con might have went away.
He died.
I think Khan's take was that he wants to see less LCS road shows. He does not want the LCS to ever leave Los Angeles. That's my impression of him. I've never seen anything otherwise. Also, I think he absolutely wants to scab for the LCS. I'm pretty sure he will take $2 to play on the LCS stage because he doesn't care about the players whatsoever at all. No, I'm just kidding. Before anybody takes that seriously, no, I'm entirely kidding. Okay, we'll get back to Khan whenever he reconnects, but in the meantime,
I mean, I think that's the worst thing, unironically, that they could do right now is more road shows. They're already struggling to be profitable. Throwing more money, it's kind of why those shitty teams don't do their fan engagement, because it's more money.
I'm with you. I've learned my lesson. I know it's not coming.
It's kind of like bad money after good money, and a lot of businesses are no.
True. But we do have another caller. Max, how's it going?
Hey, what's up? Not too bad.
Oh, let me turn you up a little bit. I think you're a little bit quiet on my end. But what you up to? How's life been without LCS?
Luckily, Disguised Toast came in to save the day, gave me something to do on a Thursday, so not too bad.
Would you have been happier had the show match been on a weekend?
Because of the time I get off work at 3:30 EST, It's perfect for
Oh
me.
shit, yeah, that's fine for you then.
Yeah, it's great.
Damn, lucky you.
Dude, people don't understand the goated shift is actually like 7 to 3:30 or 7:30 to 3:30.
Exactly.
Like, it's low-key the best.
I'm not bought on that one. That also means waking up at 6:30 a.m., which sounds horrible.
5 a.m. if you want to get in the gym
Spoken
first.
like a true college kid.
It's 5 a.m. if you want to get. Fuck no, I just wouldn't go to the gym. Screw that. So, what do you want to talk about, man?
Yeah, so I kind of wanted to push back on the idea that that players are to blame for not unionizing earlier, or that it's somehow like a fault of the players.
Interesting. What's your or why? I guess would be the best way of saying it.
So I kind of have two angles here. The first is that the majority of the players and like most people feel like the players should have unionized in 2018 when franchising came in.
Yeah.
And if the players had unionized in 2018, the majority of those 50 players would have seen very little, if any, benefit from unionizing, right? So it's very hard for me to look at those 50 players and say like you're dumb or like you have made a big mistake by not unionizing. And then on the flip side, looking at the current players, the players who are currently being screwed over, like they're the ones who would have benefited from a union. They haven't been in the league that long to have, made big efforts on unionizing.
So, with that, I thought you were done, but if you're not, keep going.
Yeah, I didn't mean to cut off.
No, that's pretty much it. I've seen people on Twitter be like, oh, I'm not like sympathetic to the players, or like it's kind of the players' own fault for not unionizing. And I just feel like the players who are being screwed over here are not the players who made the bad decision, or what people perceive as bad decision.
That is a very fair point that probably should be clarified more often. That yes, the current crop of LCS pros are not the ones responsible for not franchising, and unionizing. And I agree with your point that you're making a decision back in 2018 that doesn't benefit you, but that's the entire point of it, is that you're protecting the future of the league and future players rather than yourself. You're making a selfless decision.
I mean, you're still getting some protection because you'll still be in the league for who knows how long.
Yeah, and you don't know what
you're not getting nothing from it. I should say,
you don't know what like insurance programs you can get through the union, retirement plans, pension. Like there's a whole bunch of shit that you can get for unionizing for yourself within the immediate future, even if you see it as a downside of like losing salary. But you're right that like the majority of it is for the future and other people.
I honestly think that some of the issue with just in general with the LCS is, and I don't know, some fucking 20-year-old Zoomer will probably crucify me for this, but the scene's decision makers, even at Riot, is filled with young people who have no fucking clue what they're doing. Like, and I was a young person once. I mean, I'm only 32, but like I understand the value in old people, even if some of them are a little crazy, and we won't get into all boomer this, boomer that. But I feel like a lot of younger people don't see the value in like long-term stuff, or like things that aren't necessarily instant gratification. Things like unions, where I don't really blame the exact players that are in the struggle right now. Like I don't literally blame those 50 guys or whatever. I kind of blame pro league players as a whole kind of for not, I guess, and I guess less blame falls onto the most recent guys because they kind of got saddled with the check, if you will, saddled with the hot potato when it decided to explode. And so that's kind of, I believe that basically there's no, at the end of the day, one of the faults of the scene is that it's very young, and so things like, doing your due diligence and the value of, working protections and things like that are not, I don't know, as important as they should be. And there's less of a focus on the long term, and even Jack is, in his either late 40s or 50s or whatever. That's still young, relatively speaking, especially for business guys. So I think that's part of the problem too, is that, from every angle, and you said blaming the players. I don't put all the blame on them, like I was saying earlier, but they all share the blame, and they're all young, and they all kind of just miss the forest
the
for
wave.
the trees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Max, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I generally agree. I would just say that the players' situation differs from Riot and the orgs in the sense that, like, the orgs are in it until they decide to sell. Riot is in it forever. The players, the vast majority of the players are not going to be in the league for more than 2 years. So long-term decision making doesn't benefit the players, generally speaking.
Agreed. The counter I would give to that is the current ongoing. Well, let me ask first. Have you seen the news with like Starbucks employees trying to unionize?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think many of them want to be working at Starbucks long term?
No, probably not.
Exactly. But you're still unionizing for the sake of making sure that the people that come after you don't get the same shitty treatment. And on top of that, I just wanted to address in the Twitch chat, somebody said 10% of workers in the U.S. are in union. Not many people have experience with it. Sure, I'm not denying that. But there's also a big difference in the amount of resources that these players have available to them compared to almost everybody else that tries to unionize. Most times whenever people try to unionize, they're underpaid, they don't have the right working conditions, they're overworked, so they don't have enough time to do this. These players had basically unlimited resources to a certain extent. A good amount of money. They had lawyers at the ready willing to help them. They had organizations that were encouraging them to do it. They were in an entirely different situation when trying to unionize versus most other situations in the US where it needs to happen. I get US is very like anti-union culture to a certain extent because of how hyper-capitalist we are, but we're also a global game where you have a lot of influence from Europe and from other countries that do have more unions. So you have a lot of other resources to pull from to be able to make sure you're in a better, or you better off your future than the current situation that you're in, more or less.
I think there's also a degree of so in the modern day, right? People aren't expected to stay at a job, for more than 3 or 4 years. The way to get better paid is to go to another job, right? Like that's antithetical to our parents' generation. I'm assuming we're all 20s, 30s, right? Where they could go, 40 years in the same job. I know my parents did.
Same with
right?
my mom.
But the important thing is those people joining jobs that have unions, even if they're only going to be there for 3 to 4 years, they're still joining the union. The union is still affording them protection as long as they are an employee of the organization, right? Like, the point is, no matter how long you're a part of it, you have protection. That's the whole point. So I don't know. I think that's something important to kind of consider, is that it's not relevant how long you're going to be there. The point is that while you are there, you have protection.
I think my counter argument against that would be that unions don't form super quickly for the most part. So it's entirely possible that if the 50 players decided to unionize this year, 20 or 30 of those 50 players will never see the benefit of the union. They will be out of the LCS by the time a collective bargaining agreement comes to be.
But that's why the LCSPA has it. You have a governing organization that leads it through, so that when there is turnover, like we always see in the LCS, that won't be affected. So the players basically just come in, and the veterans have a responsibility of letting the newer guys know, hey, this is important for all of us. You're going to see the benefits of it, and we're making sure that it gets passed down. But that the LCSPA serves as that middleman that prevents that high turnover from affecting it.
I really do think there's an element of personal responsibility there for the players not to just throw their hands up and be like, how could I have not known all of this, when they're the kind of person that doesn't go to the meeting or whatever. And it's like, that's your own goddamn fault. There has to be I feel at least there has to be a level of responsibility and blame on the player. I don't think they shoulder anywhere close to even half of the blame of this whole situation, right?
No,
But
that
like
still
at
is
the end of the
Riot and the
day,
teams.
at the end of the day, even if it's not, even if they'll never see any, I don't know, real benefit. I mean, Purgson played for what, 8 years? So you don't know how long any of these players will be in the league. It's impossible to say. I think if none of them currently in the league or whatever, or none of them in the next 2 or 3 years will see the benefits. Like, esports isn't an injury-based game. Like, you don't get taken out by a broken leg for the rest of your career. You know what I mean? Like, you don't. Like, Faker's been playing for how long? Like 10 years?
Yeah.
So it's hard to. I think it's hard to say, it's a total sacrifice for the guys that would have started the union or whatever. Like I don't think. I don't think that it's that cut and dry because you never know how long some of those players are going to play. Like, fucking Darshan is still playing. Like,
He is?
yeah. Well, I mean, he was until what, last semester with C9 Academy.
Yeah,
That's
he doesn't have a team this split, but
Right, but
Yeah.
my point being, how long has he been playing? Like, it's really hard, I think, to, it takes like a year or two to form a union, give or take, whatever. I don't know the specifics, obviously, but I don't believe that just because a few people wouldn't see the benefits of it, that it's not worth doing.
Yeah.
Max, any final thoughts you have? Because I do got to get to con and wrap this up at 8 because the wife is expecting me to meet her for dinner, and I don't want to piss her off.
Yeah, that's fine. I just want to say I don't think it's like not worth doing at all. I do think the players should unionize. I just think some people are harsher on them than is necessary given the position that they were in. But thanks for having me on, guys. It was a good time.
No problem, and thank you for calling. I really appreciate
That
the
was a good
debate.
point.
It's fun.
All right, have a good one.
All right, adios. We got one final caller, and that is going to be the man him back, the scab himself.
Okay, so as I was saying, we shouldn't have Khan on. I fucking hate that guy.
Yeah, I
Oh,
know. Fuck
shit,
him.
wait.
Ah, damn. Wait, he's on. Shit.
Let's see if I don't get a call again right as I start talking. Good old work living in the Mountain West. My quick take, and I'm interested to see. I know I've kind of messaged you a bit, David, earlier today and yesterday. I am waiting for this dive interview to happen because I think there's going to be a dose of reality given to a lot of North American fans about the health of the ecosystem of the LCS. And a lot of, whether it be the LCSPA or even people like Devin Nash and other people saying that, yeah, I genuinely hear in the recent years that orgs are getting $1.5 to $3 million in rev share a year. It's kind of the talking point we're hearing. The rev share that teams would have gotten at the beginning of this year would have been right near the beginning of the kind of advertising pullout of 2023 in a lot of markets, including Twitch. And I think that orgs and Riot may know that the revenue that they're getting this year could be significantly, drastically less going forward in 2024 and beyond. And until we actually, until Riot and orgs finally let people know what this actual ecosystem we have and what we're moving into is, like, what it really is, fans are always going to latch on to the idea that even academy players should be getting livable wages, type salaries for tier 2 leagues and stuff, when we're going to get close to a reality where I think even the LCS is going to be close to bare minimums if teams want to be sustainable.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think some kids are gonna get the harsh truth that you can't. What's the right? Riot is not Mr. Big Bad Evil. I mean, they're obviously at fault for some stuff, but Big Bad Mr. Evil Corporation isn't the whole truth here.
No, I entirely agree with that sentiment. I noticed this a lot with the NACL scene, and I think it's because people latch on to players, especially in that community, as they want to see their favorite academy players go up to the LCS, and to see them lose their job so rapidly was really difficult for a lot of people. But the truth of the matter is, none of these players are bringing in that kind of value for 64K a year. They're not. That's higher than they're the highest paid secondary league in the world. Like higher than the MLB, higher than the NFL, higher than literally, well, okay, if you consider the NCAA, the NFL, or like the secondary league to the NFL, then that's a little bit more debatable nowadays. But like, the sad truth is, as Disguised Toast pointed out, he's giving them $2,000 a month per player. And even that's generous because he's not making any money off of them right now. And people really need to get a grasp on the fact that we're about to have cost realignment. And I don't think people are ready for it. Like, the LCSPA made it a point that it was a big victory for them that they were able to keep the California wage minimum. They shouldn't be getting the California wage minimum. Realistically, you should be seeing, it's already online. You should probably shift everything toward closer to Chicago and put players in a place where, say, $40,000 or $50,000 is a livable wage. Then we can do something about it and make content out of it and do, like, there's a lot of cost correction that has to happen because this whole ecosystem is just not profitable, and you have to find a way to get to that stage. And I don't know if that's in LA because these minimum salaries are just too much and you're not driving the value. Like, the replacement that I've been wanting to push, that I've made it very clear, is I would like to see college step in. If teams have this expectation to put $250,000 in the scene, sure, put it to college scholarships, because then you can pay for housing and food for everybody as they're already on campus. They have other activities besides just League of Legends. Yes, they can still spend the majority of their time practicing. And I've seen all the people make comments of, oh, you don't realize how much time it takes for them to practice. Well, I'm sorry, I don't think that's right. Then you shouldn't be spending that much time to practice. And if people want to do that because they're financially well off and have rich parents, then sure. But at some point you have to either give up time or, like, there's a balancing act to be had there, and it seems like nobody's kind of making that work at the moment at all.
Basic economics don't really care about outrage.
More or less, yeah.
Like, it doesn't mean you shouldn't be upset or something, but having a realistic look on the finances of the situation is going to go a lot farther than just beating your fists against the wall. I think honestly, like, having, like, the knowledge to, I don't know, comment on it, not in just a, yes, I posted under my favorite esports org that they're trashed for this situation, or I posted fuck Riot, go me. Like, no. Educate yourself. Figure out why this is a problem in the first place. It's never going to be as simple as someone's haha got you tweet.
Yeah. Like, if you want to pin blame on Riot for franchising this and requiring the $10 million buy-in, which, like, started the whole VC capital rush thing, sure, I'm not going to disagree with that because that's a correct sentiment to have. But I don't think it's fair to fully say that, like, that was entirely the blame here. Like, I don't know, there's just a lot of shit that's got to, hang on, Emily's calling me if you want to talk for 2 seconds.
Well, shit. No, what I think is kind of comes down to is, like, if you're a viewer and you care you care for the scene to actually be healthy, I really think it's important to, like, have a, like, realistic outlook on, like, what the options are. Like, for people who saw the um initial set of what's it called, LCSPA demands, like, people were like, oh, this is good, this is great, the LCSPA has, put out a set of demands. Most people with any economic sense whatsoever knew that set of demands was absolutely bullshit.
Oh, I know. And that,
Like,
Ludwig's video didn't help either because it got people fired up, like, oh yeah, promotion relegation needs to come back. You think Riot Games is going to come out here and give $200 million to the teams to buy back those spots? Absolutely fucking not. No chance at all. It's here to stay whether you like it or not. Now, they could buy back 1 or 2 slots, maybe, and start giving them out as, like, I don't know, a way to basically, like, hybrid that model to a certain extent. But, like, oh, like, it's just so... And even then, there's legal issues with that as well. Teams could technically take them to court. Like, it's tough. It doesn't matter whether the LCS is worth 200 million or not. It's the point is that the fair market value for each of these teams is currently $20 million. Jacob Wolf even talked about it on Twitter today that he fully expects somebody to pay the 20 million, even if that value's not technically there. So if one team's willing to get that is then set as the fair market value. That is what Riot would have to pay teams to get rid of promotion relegation each. That's how it works. It's like when you're selling a house, you're not selling it. Say you bought the house 40 years ago at $40,000. No, if it's currently worth $1 million, you're selling it for $1 million. And you have to pay tax on the difference between the original value and the sale, which there's a whole, like, I would love to get one day do like the accounting of like Dignitas bought their spot for 13 million, then sold it for 20 million. They paid tax on the 7 million. It like, what's up?
You know what's funny is I really think this is a fight between Riot and the orgs, and the players are just caught in the middle.
Oh, absolutely. It 100% is.
Like, they still shoulder some blame for not having their own protection of getting fucked by either of those other two, but I really just think it's like a, you know, mommy and daddy are hashing it out while little baby is wondering why he's getting hit.
That's why it was so problematic that they didn't unionize, because everybody said from the beginning, you're isolating power to just the teams and Riot in the system. And it sucks. And like the cold, or I don't want to keep using the same terminology because I hate whenever I do that. People are going to realize that the Players Association doesn't really have all that much power in this situation. And the list of the things that are going to happen as a result of all this whenever they do settle before we return to the LCS in 2 weeks is going to drastically favor Riot and the teams versus the players. People aren't going to be happy, but that's exactly what's going to happen. Because Riot and the teams hold every single bit of power in this situation. And the players have nothing. Riot can make concessions if they want to, but make no mistake, they do not have to at all.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, if they lose the LCS, I got bad news, but League of Legends itself has so many players that don't even know what the fuck the LCS is. They will keep just right on going.
They'll shift that marketing spend elsewhere.
Exactly, like actual like TV ads or whatever for League or something, for example. They'll literally just not blink and put it into like getting more actual players or whatnot.
And it's not like there's other leagues that they can't sponsor as well. The LEC, the LCK, and the LPL all still exist. So
yeah, they could just destroy it and remake it again.
Good.
Not that they would.
No, they definitely wouldn't. But that's going to be it for us, guys. I have to go meet Emily for dinner and to go see The Little Mermaid. You know, Disney pays me, and then I'm paying them back by going to see the movie. So that's fun. I'm not actually paying for it, though, because we have AMC A-list, so technically AMC is getting my money. But
the old Nicole Kidman guilt trip.
I cheer every time. Emily looks at me like I'm fucking nuts, and I love it. It's so funny. Every time, it's so funny.
All right. I'll catch you later, then.
All right. See you later, Nick. Chat, thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed the show match earlier today. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. I will probably stream again on Saturday, likely, and play some games. We'll see if anything develops in terms of news that might be worth talking about. But other than that, really not much going on. So that's pretty much it. I will catch you all later and see you on the next episode. This will be available on YouTube. Tomorrow, be sure to drop a follow there or subscribe. It's YouTube. I'm sorry. I'm bad with this stuff. Adios.